Welcome to the Ketovangelist Kitchen. I'm Brian.
And I'm Carrie.
And this podcast is dedicated to making things simple and easy for you in the kitchen. Carrie Brown is a classically trained, world-class chef who has a passion for creating ketogenic recipes that taste better than anything you've ever experienced. But more than that, she loves teaching people how to cook the right way.
And each week on this podcast, Brian and I discuss all the ways you can create awesome keto food that is guaranteed to make you a rock star in the kitchen.
If you'd like to learn more about Ketovangelist Kitchen, you can go to KetoVangelistKitchen.com and sign up for the newsletter.
In exchange for your email address, you'll get brand new recipes delivered to your inbox, ready for you to whip up in the kitchen and enjoy with your friends and family.
So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and learn. You're about to enter the Ketovangelist Kitchen. And hello again, everybody. This is the Ketovangelist Kitchen. I'm Carrie, and she's Brian. Oh, maybe.
Hello.
That's a spot-on impersonation. That's.
I've been practicing.
It was like I was talking to myself just now.
I've been practicing.
I may just start answering the phone, hello, as my new...
You talk to people on the phone?
Well, sometimes they call.
And you answer it?
Yeah, I cannot let a phone go unanswered if it is ringing. I cannot.
Oh.
My wife, on the other hand, can let it ring and ring and ring and ring and ring. She doesn't care. If it gets more than like 3 rings, I start to get like anxiety. I have to answer it.
No, I'm like that with every other form of communication, but my front door or my phone, no.
Is that because you're an immigrant and you're afraid of who's going to be at the front door and you're just afraid of answering it? Or
well, single girl, if I'm not expecting someone, why would I open the door? So, no, I don't do that. Plus, most of the time, when I'm actually in the house, I'm in an apron doing my crazy chef impersonation. So, if I'm kind of busy slinging cocoa powder and stuff around the kitchen, then
that's probably the reason.
I'm not up for being interrupted by unexpected guests.
That's probably the reason.
Or people selling candy, or people wanting to kill my spiders, or people wanting to paint my house, or whatever.
Well, if you're slinging cocoa powder and whatnot, that's probably the reason people are knocking on the door. That stuff wafts throughout the neighborhood.
So, and my people know that if they
know. Oh, wait, do you have
unannounced, then they're not going to get in. So then they text me, and then I'll let them in. But
do you have a secret?
Well, no.
Do you have a secret door knock? Do you have that your friends know?
Yeah, it's called a text message.
It's not the same thing.
So that's it. And if people call me, if my boss calls me, I will answer the phone. Because my boss never calls me. So if he does, it's like somebody's bleeding somewhere.
Do you answer the phone in the traditional manner of, hello?
No, I answer, hi, this is Carrie.
I answer, this is Brian. So we have that in common.
And but I typically let it go to voicemail. And if they don't leave a voicemail, then they didn't really need me. And if they do leave a voicemail, then I can decide whether I need to talk to them right now or not.
I never leave voicemails, ever.
I always leave voicemails.
I do not.
Because I don't ring people for no reason. So if they don't pick up, I leave them a voicemail.
Oh, I don't call people for no reason either. But I consider it their loss if they don't answer the phone. Because I'm a hoot to talk to.
Sometimes you are.
I am all of the time.
And sometimes not so much.
I think you're wrong there. I think survey says, yeah, I'm a delight 100% of the time.
You are a delight.
110% of the time. All right, we've got some administrative stuff to take care of, right?
We do.
So
thanks once more to the awesome Kimberly Hull for my for my which reviews have I done cheat sheet. So now I just don't have to have anxiety about figuring out what I've done and what I haven't, because I just have her list and I can just scroll down it and go, oh, we haven't done that one.
Our listeners are the best listeners of all listeners.
They are.
Okay, so if you want Carrie Brown to read your review in her sultry British accent, you have to leave a review.
Or my Brian impersonation accent. Although I'm not sure how long I could keep that up.
I really want to hear that.
Hello.
I really want to hear that for sure. Butter. So that was my impersonation of you impersonating me. That's pretty meta. Anyway, so if you want to hear Carrie read your review, you got to leave a review. You can go to iTunes, make sure you're logged in, leave a review that way. 5 stars is preferable. 6 if they let you. And if you have a podcast app on your phone or tablet, you can leave a review that way too. So, Carrie Brown, what's the review?
So I'm going to do several because I'm so behind, and I'm kind of sad because we have one here which was written on February 4th, and I haven't read it, and I'm sad that I haven't read it because I suspect that the person's no longer listening, so they won't hear me read it. So I'm kind of bummed about that. I suspect they're no longer listening because the title of the review was Too Slow! Exclamation mark. And we got 2 stars, and it was written by Michael Angela 66. So I'm not sure if this was Michael or Angela or a combination of the two. But he, she, they said, great topics, but slow to make the points. Too much useless personal information. Slow talking, too much joking, too many delays. I feel frustrated listening to this as time is being wasted. Zzz.
Now, is that did Michelangelo turn on a chainsaw just then, or did he fall asleep?
No, there was lots of Z's.
Right. So is that a weed eater, a chainsaw, or is that his impersonation of?
I guess he could have been chainsawing his device.
What if he has narcolepsy and he actually just fell asleep on the Z key? I think that may have happened.
We'll probably never know because, as I say, we're still slow to make points. We still do way too much useless personal info. We still talk too slow. We still joke too much, and there's still too many delays. So I'm pretty sure that Michelangelo 66 is no longer counted amongst our brilliant listener pool.
Well, that's a shame.
I know.
Just a shame. Oh well. Hey, well, let me say this, Michelangelo, if you're listening still, way to stick it out. Way to stick it out. We're here too. Trust me.
Still.
Trust me, Carrie thinks that I'm way too slow too. So you're not the only one. Not in terms of...
All right, so moving on.
Okay.
Lootmore, Lootmore, Lootmore said on February 6th, I really enjoy these podcasts, and gave us 5 stars and said Carrie and Brian are fun to listen to. They both have such fantastic perspectives regarding the ketogenic lifestyle, and they are really great at explaining why and how in fancy terms and in layman terms, exclamation point.
I will be the layman in that one. You're the fancy relayer. That was Lootmore?
Lootmore.
I wonder if they're related to Macklemore.
I don't know.
I suspect they are. So
that would be fun.
Right. Well, thanks for the review. That was very nice of you.
And then, we know this reviewer.
Uh-oh.
This reviewer gave her review the title, Excellent Information Who People Who Love the Kitchen and Those Who Don't.
Oh.
And it was by, drum roll, Elena Wang.
Oh, I know her.
Yes. And she wrote on February 7th, and she gave us 5 stars. And she said, Brian and Carrie are awesome. The podcasts are always entertaining. You won't be disappointed. Excellent information to make delicious keto food and choices.
So Elena Wang is not only a member of the Facebook admin team, but she's also one of the coaches for Ketovangelist too. So thank you, Elena, for writing the review. For the record, I didn't tell her she had to.
No,
that was of her own accord.
Yes.
So
Brian, that's how Brian runs his whole show. His whole life is let people be who they are and say what they mean, and no coercion.
And mostly because I don't want anyone telling me what to do. So I like to reflect that in other areas as well.
Well done.
Yay.
And I think I'm going to read one more because it's a holiday weekend.
It is?
It is.
Fantastic.
In America, anyway, it's a holiday weekend.
All right.
And it's a very odd holiday for a British person living in America.
Well, it's because you lost, is really what it boils down to.
Well, you know, it's kind of odd for me on two levels. One, because you're celebrating disengaging from the British, which kind of is odd. But it's also... it's kind of cool. I kind of have my own personal little Independence Day celebration that has nothing to do with the whole British and American thing. So it's an interesting holiday for me. What I do love about it is that the Americans get so fantastically enthused and excited and just American about it. And I love that. The other thing I hate about it is the fireworks, because it means I don't go out I never go anywhere on the 4th of July, because if my house burns down, I want to be here to save my children. And,
you know, they wouldn't
one of the houses in my neighborhood actually burnt down from a 4th of July firework. So I'm not being dramatic.
Well, you know that your cats wouldn't do the same for you, right? You know that they would watch you, from the yard. And just sit there and wait.
Love is unconditional, Brian. I don't love my children because they love me.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So I don't go out because, as I say, I want to be here if my house burns down. But also, my children don't. They're all going to be terrified and under the bed, and I want to be there with them. So,
they don't get holidays.
Reassure them that we're all going to burn down together.
Right. Yes, we're all going to die together. They don't get holidays. I will say that. Cats are not good at understanding holidays. Dogs, they understand holidays are trying to kill them, but cats not so much. They're very confused by the whole process.
So the thing I don't like about the enthusiastic nature with which Americans embrace the 4th of July is that they can get a little rambunctious with fireworks and break things. So, you know. And I don't like it when my children are sad, and they're going to be sad on Monday. So
they have to be there. Why are they going to be sad on Monday?
Because they're going to be trembling under the bed for 4 hours.
Oh. Wait, the holiday's on Tuesday, though.
Oh, Tuesday.
Oh, okay. All right, just making sure.
Yeah, sorry, not Monday, Tuesday.
All right, I was confused.
My day job boss gave me Monday off. Well, he gave his whole team. He sent an email out yesterday saying, everybody gets Monday off.
Okay.
So that's why I'm confused about when the holiday is now, because it's Friday, and so I don't do day job on Friday. So now I have like 5 days, and I'm just confused about which is the holiday.
Gotcha. I understand now. Things make sense. Well, sort of.
Yeah, right. I'm going to read one more review, and then we're going to go talk about something else.
Okay.
So there was a rating, a 4-star rating.
What?
However, there's an appendage on the bottom which makes up for the 1 star that's missing. So we had a 4-star rating on February 13th, and the title was "Good Info!" ! And
I'm sensing a butt. I'm sensing a butt coming up.
No, there's no but. It was written by Julie NDBQ. I'm not sure what the NDBQ stands for.
Okay.
NDBQ. Anyway, so Julie, I assume this is a lady called Julie. So Julie says, I have gotten so much good fine-tuned information off this podcast. Initially, the podcast lengths were 30 minutes or less, which worked better for me time-wise. They are not quite so short and concise anymore, so I listen to them here a little, there a little. My only negative remark would be that they can be corny. I love humor, but not the Jerry Lewis brand. Cut out / scale back on the goofiness, and they could be more concise. Either way, corny or not, I'm going to listen to them because they are good! ! Thank you, Brian and Carrie. And here's the piece that makes up for the one missing star. Kiss! In capitals.
Okay, so...
We got 4 stars and a kiss.
We are keto. There's no corn. So I don't know what she's talking about with the whole corny thing. There's... I think she's got us confused with someone else. I'm just saying.
We got 4 stars and a kiss, and I'm more than happy with that.
Who was the reviewer?
Julie NDBQ.
Julie NDBQ. Thanks for the review, Julie. Can't make any promises. I try to get Carrie to stop being corny all the time, but it's just who she is. And
yeah, I'm hard to reel in. I really am.
Yeah, she's a little out there. She's British. Okay. Is that it, or you got one more?
That's it. No, okay. I'm going to stop there.
All right. Then I guess we have to talk about what we're talking about.
Yes, let's do that.
What are we talking about?
We are going to talk about ice cream churners.
Ice cream churners?
Yes.
All right, then what? like brands and models and stuff, or are we talking about
yes.
why they work, or why you use them, anything
that all of that? Because and so ice cream, we could do like 20 podcasts on ice cream and I couldn't be finished, so I thought we'd break it up in bits, because ice cream is like, it's the big topic in the Ketovangelist kitchen, because it's summer and a lot of people have been making my ice cream recipes and they're all very excited. And but they have questions. And one of probably the most asked question regarding ice cream in the kitchen, that's the Ketovangelist Kitchen Facebook group, is 1, do I need a churner to make this ice cream? And 2, which churner do I get? And or will this churner I have work? Okay. So I thought we'd do a little episode on churners, and maybe Julie NDBQ will get her wish come true, because maybe this will be a little shorter than other ones.
That's another thing that I wanted to talk about. Like, I don't recall any of our episodes ever being like short, 30 minutes. Now, when we first talked about doing this, we were originally supposed to have 15-minute episodes, but
no, I think she's talking about the ones that were tacked on. I think the first several we did when they were tacked on to the end of the Ketovangelist podcast. I think we actually did relatively okay at keeping those shorter, but then once it became its own thing, we just completely lost control.
It had to become its own thing because we couldn't keep it less than an hour, so that we couldn't do a 2-hour podcast episode every week. So yeah. Okay, that's fair enough. All right, so we're talking churners, why use them, what's a good one, what's a bad one, that kind of thing. So okay, there are mechanized ones and there are hand crank ones, right? And there are mechanized ones that require no freezing. In other words, they've got a condenser in them, and there are mechanized ones that require you to freeze the bowl first before.
Yes, and those are the two that I have a lot of experience in. I've never, because making your own ice cream when I was growing up, you never did that in England. Nobody ever made their own ice cream.
Yeah.
It was just like, why would you do that? Of course, this was a long time ago. So I have never done whereas I think in America, it's always been a bit of a thing, is homemade ice cream. I have never done the rock salt bucket, sit there and churn on your grandmother's back porch ice cream deal. Never done that. However, I have to say the thought of sitting anywhere and hand cranking ice cream for, I don't know, half an hour or an hour just makes my brain glaze over.
I have done it. I have done it.
So you can talk about that.
Okay. I can.
And I'll just talk about the things I'm an expert in, which is the ones that employ electricity.
Okay. Then what do you want to tackle first?
So tell us about the whole rock salt bucket back porch grandma thing.
Rock salt bucket back porch grandma thing. Okay, so hand crank ice cream churners are basically exactly as they sound. They're powered by your manual labor, and their basic construction is they look like a bucket, and they have a device that kind of sits on top of the outer bucket, and it contains the paddle that dips into the inner bucket. So it's a bucket within a bucket, and the space between the two buckets is where you put ice and you put rock salt, and you basically have a handle that is, you just turn it. You just turn. That spins the paddle inside the ice cream mixer, and it works itself around the inner bucket's frozen outside layer. Now, the reason you put rock salt in with the ice is because salt causes the ice to have a lower freezing point, a lower melting point. So it will actually stay colder much longer, stay a lower temperature for a longer period of time. If you don't put the salt in, you can still make some ice cream, but it won't turn out as well because it won't churn as long. The ice will basically just melt because of the friction. So it's a pain. Not that it actually hurts, it's just tedious. So if you've got time and you don't mind that sort of thing, have at it. With the advent of electricity, I think a lot of people were happy to not have to deal with that. So there's no mechanical or electrical parts. It's all mechanical. It's very easy to clean. It just takes a lot of elbow grease to get it going. And it's not like you can make fast batches either, because it does take a lot longer than a machine. So that's right. It's a pain. I don't like it, but a lot of people enjoy it because of the sort of down hominess of it all. And there we go.
Thank you.
Well, there. I'm done. I'll see you guys later. I've contributed my piece, and that's it.
No, you need to hang around because I'm actually going to upset you in a little bit.
Oh, all right. That's good to know.
So, forewarning.
All right.
Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about why you need to churn at all. Air is an integral part of ice cream. If you've ever frozen heavy cream, you'll know that what happens is that it freezes like white ice. I mean, you could lob it at someone and hurt them. I mean, it's a brick. So an air is one of the things, the ingredients, if you like, that gives ice cream to some extent its texture. I mean, ice cream is a marriage of the fat and the water and the sugar and air. So if you don't have any air, you're going to get an incredibly dense product, which wouldn't be what we think ice cream is.
So the churning process is a way to get air into the mixture, is what you're saying.
That's one of the reasons.
Okay.
The other reason is that when you make ice cream, one of the goals is to create ice crystals. There will be some ice crystals because there's some water in, even in heavy whipping cream or in your ingredients, there's water. One of the goals of churning ice cream is to make the ice crystals as tiny as possible so that when you eat it, you can't detect that there's any ice in there. and
Right.
churning is what keeps the ice crystals. And if you have a suspension, an emulsion with water and other things in it, the water loves water. And water is like, ooh, there's more water. I'm going over there. And so all the water likes to get together. And so you end up, if you don't do something to stop all the water congregating together, you're going to get ice. And the more little molecules of water clump together, the bigger the ice crystals are going to be, till they get to the point where it tastes icy, it's super cold, and it's actually not crunchy, but it's gritty. You can feel the ice crystals. So churning is designed to stop that from happening. Well, that's what it does, because with the freezer bowl, the ice cream is freezing, and the paddle is scraping those ice crystals off the side, redistributing it through the rest of the ice cream, and preventing all the water gathering together.
Okay, so adding air and making sure that the ice doesn't collude, doesn't gather together.
No ice colluding.
Right.
That's it. So the churning is freezing it, but at the same time it's smashing the ice crystals to be as small as they can be, so that you end up with smooth ice cream that's not too cold, not icy, and no grain to it.
If you'll notice, if you look at the ice cream paddles that they've got for ice cream churners, they're not completely symmetrical. One of the edges is a little bit longer than the other, and it's basically for that, to make sure that it's scraping stuff off the wall and it's plastering stuff to the wall of the inner bucket. So that's why those are done, to make sure that you are not causing icicles inside your ice cream. By the way, dibs on the band name, Ice Collusion.
Ice collusion.
Yes.
So, no churn ice cream is not a great idea.
Right. So
it's not a good thing. I know that there's some recipes floating around out there. No churn ice cream. You're going to be sad with no churn ice cream, because churning is an integral part. Well, it depends what you're after. If you want ice cream, keto ice cream, that is indistinguishable or better than your Haagen-Dazs or your Ben & Jerry's or your premium brand ice cream, you have to churn with a churner. If your bar is, and this is zero criticism, because your bar is what your bar is, and it's not for me to judge that. But if your bar is McDonald's soft serve, then no churn ice cream, have at it. It depends what you're trying to do. But if you're looking for a keto version of Ben & Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs, or, Cold Stone Creamery, or any other really premium brand, then you need a churner. And that's why, because it incorporates air, and it also keeps, or helps to keep, the formation of ice crystals very, very small. As the mixture's freezing, the ice crystals are continually being smashed up so that they don't collude, and you don't end up getting grainy, too cold, lumpy, not smooth ice cream. So
I have a confession, and Carrie knows this, but I'm just telling everyone else too. I'm so okay with not doing things the way they're supposed to be done according to the recipes, that I've actually taken the ice cream mixture and just eaten it with a spoon, pre-churning, and not even worrying about it, not even freezing it, just stick it in the freezer, let it get cold, and dig into it with a spoon. So it was pretty good too. I have no regrets.
Right, and that's absolutely fine. It's not ice cream.
Oh, but it's still good. it's still good.
Right. So, if what you want is a kind of a milkshake, thick milkshake type experience, and it tastes good, and you just don't want to, then that's fine. It depends what your goal is, I think, is my point.
And that's a good point.
The custards all taste fantastic. So if you just want to eat those when they're churned or drink them, go for it. But that's not ice cream.
You just told people to put rodents in their ice cream. You just said,
did I?
You said go for it. I'm just saying.
Okay, moving on.
The lawyers do not advocate that.
Hey, you know what? I need a button on my computer that I can push and it mutes you.
It's good to have the soundboard right here next to me. So there are perks to all of this.
That's why we churn. Now, well, that's a very, very truncated, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's really all you need to know.
There's a heck of a lot going on in the churning process. There's a lot going on.
Churning is good. You want your churning to last as short a time as possible. The longer it churns, the more air. You want air, but you don't want so much air that you end up with soggy ice cream, which is what will happen. It'll be kind of soggy. It'll just be, you don't want too much air. So you want to get your ice cream churned into the soft serve consistency as quickly as possible. And that's one of the reasons why I emphasize in my book and on Facebook when people say, well, that didn't work, and I'll go, well, here's why that didn't work, is because that's why you leave one of the reasons why you leave your custard to cure or mature or ripen or whatever you want to call it. You leave it to chill overnight is best. One of the reasons, we'll do the other reasons on another podcast, but for the churning part of this, you want everything to be as cold as possible before you start churning, because you want to get your ice cream to a soft serve consistency as quickly as possible.
And okay, so that's the key, right? Is when it's, it's done in the churner when it is what, in soft serve consistency? Is that what you said?
Soft serve. Yep.
Can you explain that a little bit in case someone isn't familiar or sure what that means? It's hard to explain, right? I mean, it's hard to.
It is hard to explain. If the ice cream is starting to get thick on the sides of the bowl, you're done. It shouldn't. There was one poor lady, she churned and churned and churned, and she churned it so long that it literally was just dry and brittle and just was crumbs.
Yeah.
So and I must admit that it looks like soft serve, and you're going to look at it the first few times you do it, you're going to look at it and you go, that's not frozen enough. Because It's still, when you turn the churner off, the ice cream still falls. It doesn't just sit there. It still falls. And you're going to go, oh, is this frozen enough? And you're probably going to think it's not. But it probably is.
But it is.
So don't overchurn it. And one of the things that's going to help you not overchurn it, and one of the things that's going to help you get it churned as quickly as possible, which is the goal, is to have everything chilled. So don't skip the chilling. Now, some people are confused between the canister type churners where you pre-freeze the bowl and a compressor churner which has a built-in freezer, and they think, this has come up a few times in the Facebook group, they think that because they have the compressor that doesn't require the bowl to be frozen, that they don't have to chill the ice cream. You absolutely still have to chill the ice cream. That ice cream has to be cold, as cold when it goes in a compressor type as when it goes in a canister type. And as I say, there's other reasons why you chill it, which we'll cover in another podcast. You still have to chill ice cream custards that are going in a compressor type machine, because that ice cream has to be just as cold. The compressor doesn't change that. And you will find that if you don't chill it and you put it in a compressor type machine, it will take forever and you'll be sad because you won't have the texture or the finish that you're expecting in your ice cream.
All right. So
key point, if you have a compressor, yes, you still need to chill the ice cream for overnight.
Okay, so you make the custard, then you have to chill it in the refrigerator for at least 8 hours, right?
Yes. And the easiest way to get past that is to make it just before you go to bed and then sleep through the chilling piece, because then you're not thinking about it and obsessing about the fact that you want to churn the ice cream, but you have to wait. If you do the waiting while you're asleep, it's all good.
If you do the waiting while you're asleep, it's all good.
So that's something that's come up a lot. Doesn't matter which type of churner you have to chill the custard. Also, I highly recommend you put the bulk, your containers that you're going to put the churned ice cream into, you put those in the freezer an hour or 2 or 4 or whatever, whenever you remember, put them in the freezer empty so that they are super, super, super cold when the ice cream is churned. I also put my paddle from the machines. I put the paddles in the freezer half an hour before I'm going to churn. Everything. I chill everything before I freeze it. And also the other thing, we had one lady had this problem, was that she didn't chill. She was going to add, I don't know if it was nuts or she was going to add a mix in. After she churned the ice cream, it was one of the recipes which had a mix in. She didn't chill the mix in. And so when she poured the whatever it was into the churner at the end to mix it in, it heated up the ice cream enough that it started to melt in the churner, which you don't want. So you also want to chill all your mix-ins. Even if they're just plain nuts, just, when you put the custard in the fridge to chill, just weigh out the nuts, chop the nuts, put them in a container, put them in the fridge. Then they will be super chilled when you put them in, and then you won't run the risk of the ice cream warming up again once you add them at the end. Does that make sense?
Yes. Everything has a consequence, right? So if you're putting stuff into cold stuff, you want to make sure the stuff you're putting in the cold stuff is cold.
If you want the best result, and if you don't want a kind of a bit of a crisis at the end of churning, chill all the mix-ins before. Chill the bowl, chill the paddle. I chill everything.
You're just chill anyway. You're just chill anyway. Carrie is totally chill.
Chill the custard regardless of what machine you are using. Now, so that's why we churn, and that's why everything has to be super cold before you churn. Now, let's talk about the different types of machine. When I started creating ice cream, whatever it was, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I don't know. But that was regular ice cream because that was pre-keto, that was pre-everything. But I've made thousands of gallons of ice cream. 4 years ago when I was writing the ice cream cookbook, which was then I had moved into sugar-free and keto and all of that, I have 2 Cuisinart ICE 20 machines. I have 2 churners and I have 4 of the bowls that you freeze, the canister bowls.
Because you can buy those separately. 4 bowls
and 2 churners, because I was I had a production line going here when I was developing the recipes, and I was trying to make lots of different flavors all at once. So I had a little production line of churners. So for anybody who thinks that you have to buy a fancy churner to make good ice cream, you absolutely don't. The ICE 20s were, when I bought mine, and there were about $45. So they're not expensive. And the extra bowls were not expensive either. So So rest assured, you don't need one of the big expensive compressor types. I did all of this in the IC20s. The ICE20s have now been discontinued and they've been upgraded. They've been replaced by the ICE21. This is the Cuisinart. The ICE21 is a better churner because they've tweaked it so that the ice cream freezes faster. So they freeze about 25%. It takes about 25% less time to freeze, to churn your custard in the ICE21 as it does in the 20. So that's a good thing because you want churning to happen as quickly as possible. So my absolute recommendation is the Cuisinart ICE21. No, we're not paid by Cuisinart. We're not paid by anybody. But those are the ones I've used, and they produce phenomenal ice cream. They're also, that's a 1.5 quart churner, and all of my recipes are designed to make a batch in a 1.5 quart churner because that's what most people have. So I've developed the recipes to fit that. So the Cuisinart ICE21 would have been my number one choice for you to get as an ice cream churner.
Now you can buy those inner bowls separately, right? Because you're talking about,
you can.
Okay, so having one in the fridge at all or freezer at all times is
right.
If you're mass producing them,
right? So, and as I say, I have 2 churners, but I have 4 bowls, so I could actually, and if I was really had my act together and was ready, I could churn 8 different ice creams, one after the other, in the space of about 2 hours. Because if you're really, really fast and you've got everything super chilled, you can churn 2 batches in the same bowl. Once you've finished one, but you've got to be really fast because you don't want that bowl getting warm. You churn one batch and then rinse that bowl in cold water and get the next batch on. You can do 2 batches back to back in a canister bowl if you really got your act together, which is what I used to have to do. So I would have 2 churners, 4 bowls, and I'd do 2 flavors in each bowl. So I'd get 8 at once. So it's not impossible. It's just a bit frantic.
That would be that's like a challenge, right? To see how many batches.
Right, and frantic's fun for me, so I was good with that. There'd be this like flurry of excitement where I was getting one in the one bucket in the freezer and getting the bowl cleaned and back on, in the space of like 15 seconds. Otherwise, there's another machine, and I have one, and it's the ICE 100 Cuisinart again. And this is one of those machines that has a compressor in the unit. So it's a lot more expensive, but the advantage to this machine is that you don't have to pre-freeze the canister. So you can be sitting on the couch and suddenly go, I want to make ice. I'm going to churn my ice cream now. This assumes that you've already got a chilled custard in the fridge. I want to churn. I didn't put my bowl in the freezer. Doesn't matter because this machine has a built-in freezer that negates you having to pre-freeze your canister for 24 hours before you churn. And so the real beauty of the compressor type machines is that you can churn back-to-back flavors without you will never run out of a bowl to churn. You can have 20 flavors and you can churn them one after the other, and you're not having to worry about freezing the canister bowl in between batches.
All right.
So that's that
but there's a catch though, right? There's a catch to those.
There is.
When you add that level of complexity, because yes, it does save you some time, and yes, it's a little bit more convenient, but you have to be very, very aware of the device itself. In other words, it has to stay tabletop level because you're dealing with chemicals that are used to freeze stuff. And if you tip it or you store it sideways, you're not going to be able to use it immediately. It has to basically recalibrate and stay level.
Right. There are, and I'm now going to tell you why I would like you to buy the Cuisinart ICE 21s as opposed to the compressor type. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. I've used the Cuisinart 100 a lot very recently. So I've had a good opportunity to test it against the ice cream. You're going to get the same ice cream out of both of them. You are not going to get better ice cream out of the compressor, out of the ICE 100. You're not going to get better ice cream. So unless churning 20 flavors in the same day is you, don't get the compressor one. Get the ones with the frozen canister. The only reason to get the compressor type is if you have a need to churn like a huge number of batches, i.e. volume or different flavors on the same day. That will be the only reason to get one. So here's what I found out about the two. The ICE 21 freezes faster than the ICE 100 compressor type. So that's good. We want it to freeze as fast as possible. So the ICE wins on that. The other thing about I have found, and I've since studied, I've read up on this, and it's been there's lots of ice cream professionals who agree with me. The Cuisinart ICE 100 or other compressor types, the housing gets warm the longer you use it. So yes, you can freeze back to back, but you find that every successive batch, if you don't wait and let the machine cool down between batches, every batch takes longer. Each successive batch takes longer and longer and longer to churn because the housing of the actual compressor machine is getting warm, and the longer you churn, the warmer it's getting. So if you have a compressor, they make great ice cream. But if you're doing batches back to back, you'll find that each successive batch takes longer, and that's not a good thing. So 2 things I found out that help if you're using a compressor machine. Pre-freeze it, switch it on and for 5 minutes, run with nothing in it, just run the machine for 5 minutes before you put your custard in, because that'll give it a head start. That will cut your churning time down by probably 10 minutes, which is a lot. So switch your machine on for 5 minutes before so that the bowl is super, super chilled, almost so you can't touch it cold. And then if you're doing successive batches, once you've done your first batch, switch it off, leave it for 15 to 20 minutes to cool down, then put it on and pre-freeze it for 5 minutes before you do the second batch. And then do that between every successive batch. I don't recommend freezing back to back to back without having a break for the housing to cool down and then giving you a chance to pre-freeze it again for 5 minutes, run it for 5 minutes before you put the second and subsequent batches in.
I've done 2 in a row, and I have the compressor churner, and I've only done up to 2 in a row.
Right.
So I have not experienced the housing getting too warm.
Yeah, last weekend and the weekend before, I was making 8-10 batches in a row in the compressor.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to the last one, it was taking more than 40 minutes to churn a batch.
Right.
And they were recipes I've made before in the canister type churner. So, and as I say, I've read up I've connected with various regular ice cream experts, and they've had the same experience. So if you have a compressor type, I highly recommend pre-freezing for 5 minutes. I don't mean put the bowl in the freezer. I mean switching the machine on with nothing in it for 5 minutes.
Right.
And then also unplugging it, switching it off, unplugging it, letting it cool down for 15 minutes, and then pre-freezing it again before you put subsequent batches in, because over time, as I say, its ability to freeze fast gets less and less as time goes on.
Okay.
The other thing I've found about and let me be clear, I'm not railing on the Cuisinart ICE 100. It makes fantastic ice cream. I've got probably 34 flavors of ice cream in my freezer right now. It makes fantastic ice cream. But if you're asking for a recommendation on which ice cream maker, because you don't have one, I would steer you towards the way cheaper ICE 21 with the frozen canister bowls, for some of those reasons. The other thing I found is that the ICE 21 is way easier to get the ice cream out of the machine, because the bowls are empty. They have nothing in them. On the compressor types, there's a spindle in the bottom of the bowl, which you have to navigate. There's a big spindly lump in the bottom of the bowl. You don't have that with the frozen canister bowls. So the ice cream is more difficult to get out of the Cuisinart ICE 100. The paddle is a lot more difficult to get all the ice cream off.
It's ridiculous.
Which could be an advantage, because if you'll have more ice cream to lick off the dasher when you're done.
It's totally ridiculous. Like that paddle, I don't know who designed that thing, but it is ridiculously complex, and there's like ice cream hiding in nooks and crannies, and it's really hard to get it out. I mean, the only saving grace is exactly what you just described. Is, well, I can't get to it with my rubber spatula, so I'll just have to eat it.
Right. So you do get to lick more off the dasher if you have the ICE 100 or a similar compressor machine. But the paddles on the ICE 21 on the simpler machines are much easier to get the ice cream off with your spatula. So you'll actually end up with more ice cream frozen in the bowl. So easier to get the ice cream out, easier to get it off the paddle, faster freezing, way cheaper. The only downside is that you have to make sure is you have to keep the bowls in the freezer. So if you leave, I leave mine are in the freezer all the time. It doesn't even matter if I'm not making ice cream. I just keep them in the freezer. But I know some people don't have the luxury of space, because I have a separate deep freeze in the garage. Some people don't have that luxury, so I get it. But really, I would not recommend you to go buy a compressor machine. You will not get better ice cream from it. You will be able to churn a larger volume of ice cream in a shorter amount of time. That is the only advantage. So if that's not something you're going to do, just stick with your $45 Cuisinart ICE 21 with the frozen bowls and have at it.
All right. So there you go.
I'm very glad I bought the compressor machine, because I'm very glad that I'm now able to articulate why you would or wouldn't get one, which I couldn't really do before. But I've now had a lot of experience with the compressor model, and I love it, and it's great. But for you all that aren't doing this professionally, I would not go to the expense of one of those machines. You will not get better ice cream out of it. And it's actually, for me, and of course I use it a ridiculous amount, it's a lot more annoying to use for me than the simpler, cheaper canister models, because getting the ice cream out. The other thing, if you overfill the Cuisinart ICE 21, if you just put too much in there, it kind of comes out the top, but it's not really a big deal. If you overfill the ICE 100, it's a big mess. So that's another thing that makes it more annoying to me to use, because it's a lot harder to clean up if you inadvertently overfill it, or if you just have a custard that takes too long to freeze. So then you get more volume and then it starts coming out the top. Huge mess. It's nowhere near as messy or difficult to clean up if you do that in one of the ICE 21s, one of the simpler canister models. So yes, I use my compressor one all the time, and yes, it makes great ice cream. But if I had to choose between the two, and I wasn't wanting to churn 10 batches at once, I would absolutely, definitely, my vote would be with the far cheaper, far simpler frozen canister versions.
All right, so there you go. There's the pros and the cons, the plus and the minuses.
One of those odd instances where more expensive is not better.
And just to be the other side of that, I really like the compressor, mostly because I don't have to do anything. I don't have to freeze anything. I can just turn it on and then pour the stuff in and walk away. And because I'm lazy, that means that's good for me. So, but at the same time, I don't make as much ice cream either, too. And it isn't, the paddle is annoying, for sure. I have not tried the gelato paddle, though, with it. That might be easier. Might. But I don't know.
And just don't, if you do have a compressor type, don't overfill it.
Yes.
It tells you in the instructions. I mean, a lot of the instructions in the 100 will not help you. So I would actually, in this instance, say, don't bother to read the instructions. Follow my instructions in the ice cream cookbook. Follow those instructions. Don't rely on the manufacturing instructions. But the one instruction in there that is really, really helpful and important is don't, and it tells you where it says don't fill higher than the top bar on the paddle. That's really, really, really good advice.
Right, or you'll be cleaning stuff up.
And it's got it has nooks and crannies in the kind of the hole where the bucket sits. There's lots of nooks and crannies that you cannot get that ice cream custard out of if you go over the edge. Right. And so, yeah.
And it will find every single one of those nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. Good churners, bad churners, why you should use them. And if you're
all good, I just don't want people to spend big bucks thinking that they'll get better ice cream out of a compressor type. They won't. Okay, then. So don't blow the money unless you want to make 10 batches at a time, or unless you really do not have room to freeze the canister.
And that's the reason that's the real reason I got the compressor one, is because we don't have a lot of freezer room. Yeah. And sticking that canister in there really kind of cramped my style.
Yeah. No, and I get it. And so those two, if one or both of those two reasons are you, then get a compressor one. But I would highly recommend pre-freezing for 5 minutes and then leaving 15 to 20 minutes between batches for the housing to cool down, and then pre-freezing for 5 minutes. You'll get better ice cream because it won't be churning too long. As long as you bear that in mind and you don't overfill it, have at it. But for everybody else, go with the ICE 21.
All right. So I guess that's it then for the compressor talk, or the churner talk.
That's it.
So you know what time it is now. You know what it's time for now. Yes. It's Motivation Monday. Never gets old.
It never, ever gets old. I want you to record that so I can have it as my ringtone, but you never ring me. So my text tone, my something tone.
Okay. Yeah. Tone. It's all about the tone. What's our Motivation Monday for today, Carrie Brown?
It is a quote from the ever awesome C.S. Lewis. And it is...
I love C.S. Lewis.
There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind.
That sounds very optimistic. So what does it make you think of?
Well, because I like to apply all of our Motivation Mondays to food. In fact, I like to apply everything to food and being keto. It's, for me, that kind of says, yes, you might be missing, you know, X food or things you used to do or whatever. But, you know, don't worry about what you're going to have to leave behind, because trust us when we tell you everything ahead on this journey is far, far better.
That's interesting. I was taking it more of a, as opposed to like a deprivation kind of thing, more of a letting the past be in the past, you know, good and bad, and then just focusing on the possibilities of the future. That's kind of where I was going with that. So read it one more time.
There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind.
All right. So for this week, if you're holding on to something, you know, you're letting it kind of get to you, control you a little bit, whatever it is, or remnant from your past, it's good to let it go and focus on the future and realize that you have the ability to kind of choose to see the positive in the potential life to come, if you know what I'm saying. Anything else you want to add?
Only that I know it in my life that's absolutely been true. There's been things I've had to leave behind, and at the time I've been like, wow. And then later I'll look back and I'll go, why didn't I let that go sooner? Why? Right. Why didn't I trust that everything that happens is forever eventual good, and that, there's if I'd have traded that sooner, I would have been in a better place sooner. So that's been my experience.
I think it's especially true when it comes to relationships and people. The longer you let someone sort of control you by you not letting things go, the harder it is when you finally come to the grips and realize, oh, okay, I should have just done this sooner. So that's the theme. Let it go. It'll be okay. Focus on the future.
Yes.
All right. So there you go.
And now you don't even have to leave behind ice cream, because now you have keto ice cream that tastes better than the real stuff anyway.
Right there. You don't even have to let it go. No. You can just spoon it in. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. That's our Motivation Monday for today. All right. So what's the final word there, Carrie Brown? Churn, churn, churn.
Get an ice cream churner and make ice cream that's better than the stuff you've been eating thus far in your life.
All right.
And get a cheap $45 Cuisinart ICE 21. You'll get as good ice cream out of that as anything else.
And just so we're clear, we're not affiliated with Cuisinart in any way.
Nope, we're not. But I love them for their ice cream churners, because all the ice cream I've ever made has been in Cuisinart machines, and I've made fabulous. I've been thrilling my friends, neighbors, co-workers, other assorted people, thrilling them with fantastic ice cream made in those machines. So no, we're not affiliated with them, but I highly recommend them.
All right. So there you go. Go out, get yourself a churner, make some ice creams, and enjoy. Especially because it's summertime. That's what you should do.
Hey, summer!
All right. Well, then I guess until next week, Carrie, I shall talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Ketovangelist Kitchen. So listen, there's that idea of making food on your own. So if you're missing ice cream, check out Carrie's ice cream cookbook. Get it. Buy yourself a churner. It's an investment that you'll pay back 10 times over. Because, seriously, it's ice cream. All right, if you want to connect with us on social media, we're on the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams. Ketovangelist Kitchen Facebook group. Leave us a review if it's a good one, because the world needs to know how awesome Carrie is. And until next time, keep being awesome. Powered by ketones.